What's up? What's happening? It's Chief Guy Rememberer Dan Lucero, 580 Sports Talk, here with you on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Give us a like and subscribe if you haven't yet. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube for another round of Immaculate Grids with Dan. Again, ImmaculateGrid.com. It's the daily game where you have to make a player fit in the grid. You get 9 guesses to fill 9 boxes. And you're going for the lowest rarity score, at least I am. Today's grid, this is grid number 515, I believe. Let me double check that. Indeed, 515. You can see it up top. Our columns are the Mets, the San Francisco/New York Giants, and only one team. So they can't have played for more than one team. The rows are the Braves, Atlanta/Milwaukee/Boston, the Dodgers, Los Angeles/Brooklyn, and Hall of Famers, players who have made the Hall of Fame. We'll start in that Hall of Fame row first because there are the obvious answers. Everybody, generally speaking, knows the Hall of Famers. You think of the great Mets players who've made the Hall of Fame. Gary Carter might be the first one that comes to mind. Players that spent some time with the Mets, like Pedro Martinez is on here. You could use Tom Glavine, who would also fit the Braves-Mets square up top. He's a Hall of Famer. If you're going to get a low rarity score, you have to use a player who made a very brief stop in that team's uniform. I mean, very brief. That's how you get the best rarity score. So I'm going to use Yogi Berra in this square, who in 1965 was the player manager for the Mets. Didn't play very long, but was in fact a player coach for the Mets there late in his career. Shouldn't say player manager, player coach late in his career with the Mets. And that's 4% on the rarity score for Yogi Berra as a Mets Hall of Famer, because he did indeed wear the other pinstripes in New York after his celebrated Yankees career. Same thing goes for the Giants. We're going to use a player that could also fit in the Giants-Braves square. The winningest left-handed pitcher of all time, that's Warren Spahn, 0.5%. Very brief turn in San Francisco for Spahn after spending the wide majority of his career, winning the wide majority of his, I believe it was 363 games off the top of my head, with the Braves. And then Hall of Famers, only one team. Come on, guys. You know me. As a Rockies fan, there can only be one answer to this question. It's got to be Todd Helton, one of the newest members of the Hall of Fame group. 1%, remembering that Todd was inducted just this year, along with fellow one-team Hall of Famer Joe Mauer. Lots of great answers in that box. George Brett, Lou Gehrig, Robin Yount. I could give you a bunch of them, but Todd Helton, 1%. So I'm satisfied with my rarity score on that bottom row. For only one team, for the Braves and the Dodgers, I tend to try and go with young players who were recently called up or only spent a short amount of time with the club before maybe being sent down. So for the Dodgers today, I'm going to go with outfielder James Outman, who's been up and down with the club the last 3 years. That's 4% on that rarity score. And for the Braves, I'm going to go with a young pitcher, A.J. Smith-Shawver, who was recalled last year and has spent parts of 2 seasons with the club. 1% on the rarity score for A.J. Smith-Shawver. So now we have the team boxes. Let's do the Dodgers first. The Dodgers and the Mets. Guys, remember Paul LaDuca? It's a good one for remembering some guys. That's not how you spell it, though. Paul LaDuca. I'm not typing very well because I'm holding a baseball bat with my dominant hand. So my apologies. Paul LaDuca, longtime catcher in the bigs, got really into horse racing. And I think that was his post-baseball job, was being an analyst for horse racing broadcasts. He got really into that part of the world. Also named in the Mitchell Report. So that's something less enjoyable to know about Paul LaDuca. Fiery, red-ass kind of catcher for a lot of years for the Dodgers and later for the Mets. For the Braves and the Mets, I gave you Tom Glavine, my first favorite player, as I talked about on a previous version of these videos. But that would be a pretty high score, I feel like. So let's go with a more modern player. And alas, it's another former Rocky. Let's go Kevin Pillar, well-traveled veteran outfielder. Spent some time with the Braves last year, with the Mets a couple of years before that. Has spent this season, as you can see on his hat, with the Angels. And that is just 1%. A little bit surprised that Kevin Pillar's score is so low. For the Dodgers, excuse me, talking about the Angels, the Dodgers and the Giants, I'm going to go with a player here that there's a fun fact about. I believe he is the first. I know he's the first. I don't know if he's the only, but I know he was the first player to play for all 5 National League West teams in his career. And that's Steve Finley, who had a really good career. Steve Finley was a Gold Glover, was an important part of some winning teams, including a championship team in Arizona. Had a good run in San Diego. Towards the end of his career was with the Giants and the Dodgers, and actually finished up with the Rockies in 2007. So I've got a tic-tac-toe of ex-Rockies on this board. Steve Finley in the middle, 2%. And then, because it is the start of college football season tonight, if you're watching this on the day I'm recording it, Thursday, August 29th of 2024, it is the start of college football season, and the Colorado Buffaloes play tonight. Who else to fill this square? The Neon Deion Sanders. You probably forgot, as you see my rarity score there of 18, you probably forgot that Deion played with San Francisco. Certainly, if you remember him as a player, you probably remember him as a Brave, possibly as a Yankee if you go further back. Maybe you remember him as a Red, but he did turn up with the Giants, and that was a brief period in 1995 that he turned up with the Giants. I don't know if he was traded there from Cincinnati. He went back to Cincinnati. His last 2 years of professional baseball, which were kind of interspersed towards the end of his football career, were with the Reds. But he did indeed play 52 games with the Giants back in 1995, and actually played really well for the Giants that year. If I remember right, that wasn't a very good Giants team under Dusty Baker, but he did have a really nice final major league season, or half major league season, with the Giants. So there you have it. That is my board today. Coach Prime rounding out the board. A rarity score of 18 today. Would love to see your grids, your answers to any one of these 9 squares. If you can beat my rarity score, give it a shot. ImmaculateGrid.com. And we'll remember some guys another time.